The Voice referendum result is days away, but we won't get a clear picture of who has donated what to the campaigns until the Australian Electoral Commission releases its data next year. Companies such as BHP, ANZ and Wesfarmers have publicly announced donations in the millions of dollars to the Yes campaign.
The problem is the campaign has been so woeful that the more they spend, the more they lose, because they're not saying the right things to soft and swinging voters.
Mining businessman Clive Palmer has promised to spend $2 million advocating for a no vote. But the main no campaign is called Fair Australia, and it's run by a conservative lobby group called Advance Australia.
We've spent the last 3 years pushing back against the radical left, holding elite politicians to account and making sure your voice is front and centre.
From having looked at their campaign materials, I see their messages as very right-wing. They would prosper a lot more were they closer to the centre.
Former Prime Minister Tony Abbott is advising the group. The shadow Indigenous Affairs Minister, Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price, is acting as the group's official no campaign spokesperson. The senator worked for Advance Australia before entering Parliament.
My advice, don't go woke. Stay real.
Advance Australia denounces inner city elites, but it's attracted significant donations from wealthy business figures. That includes Carl Morris, the chairman of the Brisbane Broncos, Sam Kennard of Kennard's Storage, and Marcus Blackmore, a former owner of Blackmore's Vitamins.
There's certainly a deep irony in that many of the funders of Advance Australia and such movements are themselves inner city elites by any definition.
According to electoral records, the biggest donor to Advance Australia is a former Wall Street investor.
I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I've committed $1 million to Advance Australia.
Simon Fenwick was born in Oxford to a Rhodes Scholar father, educated in Brisbane, made his fortune in New York, and now lives on Sydney's Lower North Shore.
Woke ideas and cancel culture have even infected the boardrooms of our largest corporations. They are now enthralled with identity politics and prosperity, destroying climate gestures to appease special interests.
But it's pretty clear that he considers himself to be an ideological warrior of the right. He rails very powerfully against what he considers to be the cultural Marxism that's underpinning Australian politics. He talks about brainwashing, identity politics. He rails against climate change.
Fenwick and his wife have now donated nearly $1.4 million to Advance Australia, according to public records. And that doesn't include the $750,000 he's now pledged during the referendum campaign. His previous political donations include $365,000 to the Liberal Party and $24,500 to a conspiracy theorist One Nation candidate.
Hi, my name's Michelle Wild, and I'm running for the House of Representatives with the Pauline Hanson One Nation Party.
The candidate at last year's federal election, Michelle Wild, is a Brisbane real estate agent and anti-vaxxer.
I actually don't know anyone who's ever been sick with corona, and actually the masks don't work.
Wild used her platform as a candidate to spread misinformation on a range of topics, including COVID-19, the US election, and climate change.
Did I say I'm a climate change denier? I guess I am, yes. Absolutely not. Absolutely rubbish, and it's just a way for more billionaire banks to get more money from your pocket.
Wild belongs to the anti-authority freedom movement, which has helped promote rallies against The Voice.
They've come out and said, no, this is a plot to control the people. This is a plot to give Aboriginal people more rights than they deserve, a plot to take our land, to make us pay more tax.
These no campaign rallies weren't endorsed by the official no campaign, but Advance Australia has promoted some freedom movement ideas.
Certainly there's an ideological overlap. If not a people-to-people overlap, they are converging on the same ideological fronts.
This meme put out by Advance Australia suggests both COVID-19 and climate change are tools of fear used by a political class to take people's money. In this 2020 speech, Fenwick hits out at what he calls climate alarmism.
I don't know about all of you, but I'm tired and angry of having my two daughters coming home in tears after watching repeats of the Al Gore nonsense movies.
Advance Australia opposes the net zero emissions target and dismisses human-induced climate change as a cult. When it comes to Indigenous affairs, Simon Fenwick is a philanthropist.
You know, what I've done is set up some endowments and scholarships and also some stipends at universities and schools to help young Aboriginal kids.
That includes $1.3 million in grants for regional and Indigenous students at his old school, Brisbane Grammar.
There's no doubt that Aboriginal people are falling well behind and have been, despite all of the either silly, well-intentioned plans from previous governments, you know, apologies and so forth.
But Indigenous affairs isn't just a political or philanthropic interest for Fenwick, it's also commercial. Fenwick is a director and shareholder of a company called New Harvest Investment Management. It's seeking to raise more than $50 million to invest in agriculture and carbon reduction projects, cooperating with Indigenous groups.
For First Nations people, you're already on the front line of climate change. And in order for this rapid transformation to not be another experience of dispossession, then it's really important that there is good representation to government.
Proponents of a voice to government say the voice could help advise on the economic development of Indigenous land holdings.
I see a rep body and the voice being of really huge utility for local Aboriginal landholders and communities as they enter into negotiations, say in relation to the clean energy transformation. That it will be one way to correct that power and resource and political imbalance.
In 2020 and 2021, New Harvest advised the Indigenous Land and Sea Corporation, a government body, on land use and divestment. Neither Fenwick nor New Harvest responded to 730's questions. Advance Australia didn't answer detailed questions and instead issued a statement.
We are working to defend and advance our nation's freedom, prosperity and security, and we frankly do not care what the ABC thinks of that.
Fenwick has previously described Advance Australia's campaign infrastructure as world-class, and Advance Australia looks set to continue its campaigning after the referendum vote.
They are likely to expand their database, they're likely to expand their donor base, they're likely to have more resources and a greater reputation as the end consequence, assuming the yes case loses.
This is what a permanent campaign capacity looks like, and we're only just beginning. We can't wait for others to step up. We have to act now.